Sorry guys, I know that we just did the video, which I shot yesterday afternoon. Oh crap, let's see here. Hopefully hopefully my Wi-Fi holds. So, like I said, I know I'm trying to close cupboard doors that aren't even there anymore. So, like I was saying, so this is just gonna be real quick. Some people, hey, what's up, David? Some people were talking about stuff. There's somebody mentioned carbide tear out in the premiere of the last video, talking about that S30V, the S30V Benchmade 940 that I just did. I mean, I shot the video yesterday afternoon, right before I went to Matt's, right after I just basically got out of the shower. And so somebody said something about carbide tear out. Let me say, first of all, I'm not saying that carbide tear out is not a thing, that it doesn't exist. But I do have a microscope and I've been checking edges and I've done some little bit of experimenting. I haven't done a video about it yet. Different steels, different stones, and people tell me that I shouldn't use the aluminum oxide stones on certain steels because you're gonna have carbide tear out. You have carbide tear out, carbide tear out. And I don't think that it's near as, does it happen? Yeah, I mean, obviously there's people that have proof of this. However, I haven't seen any proof of it that by using an aluminum oxide stone on a harder steel like 20CV or M390 or things like that, that I'm experiencing carbide tear out. Now, let me elaborate on that a little bit. I use a combination of different stones, but what I think that people are like, oh, it's because you did it this way and you're getting carbide tear out. That's not what's happening. That's not what's happening on that knife. Because, like I said, I do check the edges and things that I do on the thing, on the microscope that I've got. Granted, it's not a great microscope, but it's enough that I would be able to be seeing inclusions and problems with that edge. And I'm not. But what everybody keeps forgetting, they want to blame, oh, it's carbide tear out because it's, oh, I like that steel. It's your fault because of the stones you used. It's not. I'm telling you, I do this for a living. I've looked into this. I've paid attention to stuff. So everybody's like, at the 3 micron, once you get down to 3 microns, you'll start having carbide tear out. Well, I take stuff down to 0.5 micron. Do you know why? I say that it doesn't matter what stones I use at the beginning or in the middle. It all depends on where you're finishing, because my final stones are ceramics, and then my strops that I take them down, this is a 0.5 micron, this is 1 micron, this is diamond. So they're like, oh, those stones aren't hard enough to cut. Those stones aren't hard enough to cut. Those stones aren't hard enough to cut those carbides. You're getting tear out. You're gonna have tear out. You're gonna have tear out. It's no different than a guy that told me I couldn't use diamond to sharpen because I would get diamond embedded in the steel. I had to use CBN. And then he gave me this big thing about grinding at temperature, dry grinding on steel with diamond wheels and things like that, that the diamond gets embedded. That's great. It was a scientific paper. I have no doubt that that's a true statement. But grinding, where you're generating temperature, on dry grinding or wet grinding, that's 2 different elements right there. And then the last thing is I'm hand sharpening. I am generating no heat. I am doing it on a water stone at this speed, no heat. So some of these things that people say, and some people see these scientific, and don't get me wrong, I read it. Super Steel Steve was saying something about, don't let Elliot find out you're doing an edge retention test on carbide. That wasn't at all what I was trying to do. You'll see that comment on the video. And I'm not upset about that. I'm just saying that's where it gets, people will read something and take a snippet of it and think that that's the way to go with it. And it's not necessarily a factual thing. These strops are loaded with diamond, which is harder than any of the carbides, vanadium carbides, any of the carbides in any of these steels. So if I'm taking it up to a point and then finishing on stones that are diamond and ceramic, I'm cutting those carbides and then finishing them on diamond. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's what I get every time when I talk about, oh, the steel chipped or this and that. Oh, it's because you used aluminum oxide. You did carbide tear out. You guys have seen the videos that I use where I've used the microscope. I have a microscope and I check edges pretty often. The only reason I haven't had any footage of it go up lately is because when I updated my computer to the new version of Windows, I can view it, but I can't get it to do a capture. And I've been trying, I mentioned it in the video I shot yesterday afternoon that you just watched, if you watched the premiere. I'm having a hard time. I think the driver just needs to be updated. That's it. So I will start getting, once I get that figured out, I will start getting more of those things because, like I said, not at all saying, because I know there's gonna be some, who's saying carbide tear out doesn't happen? It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the way I sharpen, I'm not experiencing carbide tear out. I'm not at all denying these things, these scientific proof, because there's proof that carbide tear out does happen. But I would like to see what sharpening process is actually being used, because all you see is just, oh, I experienced carbide tear out. Well, how did you sharpen it? How did you sharpen it? Did you sharpen it on a machine? Did you sharpen it on a rotary belt grinder? How did you sharpen it? What other elements are thrown into this mix that could cause the carbide tear out? Does it happen? Absolutely. I've seen pictures of it. At pretty much the same, some of the same levels of magnification that I'm using on that little microscope. Hand sharpen and have carbide tear out. Yeah, and I'm saying, but you're talking about some, those are tungsten carbides. Those are a different, I'm talking about just your general carbides. Maximet's a completely different animal. Maximet has a ton of tungsten in it. A ton. I think it's like 17%. There we go. See, so burnishing and cutting, which means fatigue steel is not being removed. So there we go. Sean's here. And he'll tell you there's different amounts of carbide. So to say, like, my finishing steps, as long as I'm cutting, even if I am having tear out at the 600-800 grit on an aluminum oxide stone, my final finishing steps where I am using diamonds and ceramics and things like that towards the finishing end, whatever I've done at the beginning, that's going to be cleaned up and cut away. And like I said, I'm checking magnification because I do know that there's steels out there that people say are prone to carbide tear out. Just, you know, there's a lot of elements in this, but that I think carbide tear out, not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying carbide tear out gets thrown around a lot just because it's one of those, oh, you're experiencing carbide tear out. I don't think so. That the stuff, yeah. And so, like I said, I'm not disagreeing that it hasn't happened or it didn't happen to Sean. Yeah, see? And I'm not, like I said, and I don't use things that are softer. I'm using diamonds, so I'm not burnishing that edge over. I'm maintaining a crisp serrations, micro serrations at the apex. So, I mean, I check those things like new steels that I may have never sharpened before. I check them on that microscope. That was one of the best gifts I've ever gotten from any subscriber, was that microscope. It allows me, like, say this is the first time I ever sharpened S30V. Well, I would take it up and I was like, what's my edge look like? How does my edge look? Am I seeing inclusions? Am I seeing things that would be indicative of a tear out? Or am I seeing just crisp, clean micro serrations all the way to the apex? And so that's, you know, and I have changed a lot of the ways I sharpen, and Sean is to thank for that. I use the diamonds. I don't know if they give a better edge or not, but I do know that they maintain their cut. The stones just cut better, longer, and last longer. I do notice that, and I do notice that some of the finishing steps. It's just that, like I said, a lot of times people will take things that I say and they twist them. Oh, he says that fucking carbide tear out doesn't happen. Never did I ever say it doesn't happen. The steel's high. So I'm trying to read what you're saying. Here's the coarse stone is important as you can get away with burnishing after you see the apex with the diamond or CBN. Yeah, and like I said, and these days, most of if I'm sharpening something that's there's some steels that still really I sharpen them on some of the softer stones. I still use some of the Veneb stones and stuff like that. And that's it. That's the other thing I said, Sean, in the video. I was like, I don't know what the heat treat. I don't know how accurate heat treat is and stuff like this on that S30V. I just know that all of the Benchmade 940s that I've had people send me for sharpening have got a lot of edge chipping, and a lot of the Benchmade knives in S30V, and pretty well a lot of the knives period in S30V, I'm noticing a lot of chipping along the edge, and the removal of fatigued steel. Like Sean said, I do a heavy removal on that initial edge. If that's a factory edge on that knife and it's never been sharpened before, I take a good bit of material back just to make sure that that spots where it was ground and that steel might be fatigued or maybe got heated a little bit more than it should have, because Sean and I both agree that any edge at the apex, you should be setting it shouldn't just go out the door with a belt edge. It should be even if, I mean, if you did set it on a grinder, you've got to take that edge, basically get it all the way off. All you've basically done is allowed yourself a little thinner area to work with, so you're not having to form the apex. So yeah, and so I mean, but like I'm saying, there's a lot of things at play, and a lot of times people just want to throw the word carbide tear out as that's what's wrong. And I didn't think about it when I did the end of the video until I just watched the premiere. So, but like I said, that knife should not have chipped with that little bit of cutting cardboard. It shouldn't have. And especially I've adjusted that. That's a full convex edge. That knife's been sharpened probably 15, 20 times now, because it does get a lot of carry time, and it doesn't hold an edge great. I don't like edge retention. I don't like the way S30V handles an edge. It just so happens that I like that knife, and it happens to be an S30V. So that's kind of what I've got. So I really do like that knife a lot. I just wish it was a different steel. And I am going to talk to him about putting an S90V blade in it for me. I didn't even think about it when mosquito. I got him. So no, I just wanted to say, I just like every time I do a video and I talk about chipping on, oh, it's carbide tear out. I don't think it is. I don't think at this point, like I've checked under the microscope enough times. Those chips are huge. If they're big enough, you can feel them tick, tick, tick down your thumb. You might not be able to see them, but they're much larger than what would be caused by a carbide tearing out. And if it wasn't there before, it's obviously not an artifact of sharpening. It's something that has developed in the cutting. You see what I'm saying? I'm not at all disclaiming that shit doesn't happen like that. I'm just saying I have been checking it and I'm not seeing it. I just wanted to throw that out there because people are going to immediately go into those comments. Oh, it's carbide tear out. Yeah, I don't either. I could, and as much, Sean, as much as I may have said stuff and joked about the HRC mafia thing, in all honesty, I have no, at this point, seeing the stuff Mark says as to how it was heat treated or shit like that. And in mass heat treating, you do have stuff that every once in a while one will slip through. But I don't think that's the case because I notice it in a lot of the S30V blades, especially the Benchmade ones. Does that make sense? Like I said, I'm not trying to make this an argumentative thing. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that I wasn't saying that I don't think carbide tear out happens. I don't. It was in the live chat for that premiere. Somebody started bringing up carbide tear out, and then something about 3 micron and stuff like that. So that's a brand new blade in an old knife. That blade, if you remember, Sean, so that blade is, they put that blade in for me. I left it with them at the Blade Show West in Portland. So, but the whole thing is S30V is just not one of those steels that I really would go out looking for. I find that you get the downsides of some of the more stubborn, almost on the verge of like super steel kind of fucking things where it can be a pain to sharpen sometimes. It doesn't like, you know, it doesn't want to sharpen on some stones, stuff like that. And then for all the things that you get that are negative about S30, there's not much plus, because I don't find that it holds an edge as well as other steels. I find that I don't like it does. I'm not gonna lie to you. It takes a super, super fine, crisp edge. It is terrifying. I just hang on a second. I'll grab it. I just resharpened it. I didn't take it up as far. I only took it to 4,000 grit on those diamond matrix stones, and then stropped it just to make sure that I got all the burr off. And I mean, that is nightmare-inducing kind of crisp edge. I just don't find that, even adjusting grit, I just don't find that the edge stays crisp as well as other steels. I just don't. I don't find it as taking that edge and holding it as long as other steels. So that's my main problem with S30V. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna talk to him and see if it's possible to put an S90V blade in this. I love S90V. So Sean, before next week, I need your table number for Blade West so I can make sure I stop by, because I know you're not gonna be running around as much. So I've never really been much of a fan of the S30V, and I noticed real quick, K4. Let me write that down. Writing it down. I will forget it. BBB, K4. Are you gonna need a custom? Oh, definitely. You know I'm gonna come by. We might disagree on stuff. I fucking still like you. That's the thing. Like I can deal with disagreeing with people. Like, fuck, I disagree with a lot of people. My friend Ashton and I, we disagree on stuff about the things he says about. He and I drastically disagree about deep carry pocket clips. But that doesn't mean at the end of the day we can't agree. That we can't be friends. But there's some people that just like, if I disagree with what they say, they don't want to fucking. You'll see them in the comments. That's when they just get mean. Like I made a personal affront. Like if I say something about Spyderco or Benchmade or one of these other, I haven't seen any of the Spydercos in S30V lately, the new ones, so I don't know. But what I was saying is, like, I'll mention something about a knife brand, and then they just lose their shit. Okay, maybe I don't like that brand knife. Maybe I don't like that style knife. Maybe if you like it, that's fine. Don't lose your shit and fucking go in and personally attack me in the comments section or start sending me harassing emails. It's a fucking knife. It's a channel based on opinions. You know? I don't agree with everything Elliot says. Usually about metals, yes. But as far as like some stuff like design and things like that, I don't always agree with Elliot's fucking decisions in knife design and things like that. You know? That's the beauty of this, is we can each have an opinion and not fucking kill each other over it. That's shit that happens in the Middle East. So I'll end it with this, guys. I've been carrying this thing. If you can see, I have used it. It's cut through some staples. I cut some wire with it intentionally just to see how the edge on this was gonna be. This thing is great. I love this. I know it's in 20 CV, Sean. Don't flip out. You know I like 20 CV. You know I like 20 CV. I know that you and I agree. I saw what I was gonna say. So if you guys don't watch Sean on Instagram, he posted up a knife that he made not too long ago. That I can't remember what steel it was that he was flexing the tip on like a door frame, and I was like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. That was amazing. The amount of fucking toughness that you were able to put into that steel, because that's one of the things that you look for is in a steel is like how does how is the toughness? And so if you guys don't know, the toughness is like impact resistant, and how it's gonna respond to flex and things like that. Because if you're getting that much ability to flex a steel like that at the tip, at the edge, you're gonna have that amount of flex in the steel. So toughness and hardness and things like that go hand in hand, and it's tempering that with how hard can I make the steel and how tough can I get it. Where's my middle ground where I can fucking peak it? And Sean's been doing some stuff with some crazy fucking steels lately, and to see a blade with that much flex out of a steel that is like that, that's props, brother. That's taking it a little step further. And plus, it's a fucking goddamn good looking knife, bro. So I have to, I don't know if she's ever gonna watch it, give thanks to probably the best Patreon I've ever had, which is my mother. As a present, my mother bought me, and it's a refurbished, my mother bought me a MacBook Pro quad core for me to do editing on. It's basically, this is my YouTube device. And I don't know if you guys have seen a change in quality. There's some hiccups. I am running into some hiccups where, if you watched the last video, I managed to get a little piece of one like overlap. But yeah, I gotta say that is probably she's the greatest Patreon I have. Patron. So this thing is great. I just wish that the fucking 2 terabyte hard drive, the external hard drive that I was starting to archive videos from YouTube onto, had not shit the bed, because I just lost 6 gigabytes of video data and probably 200 or so pages of customer records. I mean, can I get them back? Yeah, they're saved on a cloud, but still. What was that? Somebody said something. Tell us more about the stonefish. Well, I mean, I've done it a lot, but if you really want to know, so the stonefish is a 4.5 millimeter 20 CV blade. It's about 9 inches overall. It was designed as it truly is designed as a tactical / combat knife, but for it to be a useful tool for the average modern warfighter. The average modern warfighter is not going to need a fucking 18-inch long K-bar that's basically a sharpened crowbar with a round handle with no indexing. This is more along the lines of what your modern warfighter would want, something you can use as a tool in the field outside of just combat. So this is a really good field knife, but with all of the trappings and things that I would have wanted in a combat knife, but still with the ability, some versatility, some multiple handholds. But if you have taken martial arts and you do study some edged weapon stuff, the things that you see on here with this palm swell and these multiple grips and then this large area back here, it allows you multiple handholds. If I want to get a little distance on a snap cut, I can reach back and I still have positive control. I've got a full finger guard. I tried to make it a lot like a sub-hilt fighter. I don't know, you've probably seen those, but I didn't want the full forward, like the extra finger, like double finger guard, so I just went with a choil because it allows you to choke up and do some heavy cutting. And some people are saying that the choil's too small. I don't think it is. I got big hands, so I can get my finger in there for detail work. Am I right up against the edge? Yeah, but if I'm doing detail work, I know I'm not going to put my hand up. If I'm using it as a combat implement, I'm probably going to be all the way back here so that I can get purchase. So I made sure I had deep jimping that wouldn't load. Some people are like, oh, that jimping's too big. Well, you got to understand, I had knives with jimping. Why? Well, because, like I said, it's going to give you some pretty good, you get some really good corrosion resistance. You have a good hard blade with some pretty good toughness. 20 CV is fairly tough, and it's got really good edge retention, but it's not something that, like, I tried to bridge the gap between how hard is too hard, how hard to sharpen, things like that. Are there other steels I could have used? Yeah, but the fact is 20 CV falls in that area where I've got really good edge retention. It's not super difficult to resharpen. It is hard, it's tough enough to do the things you want. It's got enough corrosion resistance that if you're in a wet weather environment or a salt water environment, that it's not immediately going to rust up on you. You know, it's got fairly good impact resistance in the range that I was looking. I would love to have had it with the full heat treat that we use for in-house for 20 CV. But the flip side of that is you turn more of that chromium into carbides than available chromium oxide on the surface to prevent rust. And it makes it a lot harder for people to grind and cut it and things like that. I don't have to. That's what it comes out at. That's what my full customs are. They're right at 60, right around 60, 62 to 60, just, you know, 61 to 63, let's say. That's about the range with that heat treat that we use that you get on it. But like I said, those knives rust a lot easier and stuff like that. So doing it in 20 CV allowed us kind of for a production knife to have for this multiple use, multiple environment thing like that, just to hit the big broad gambit. I like 20 CV. It's one of my favorite steels to own a knife in and cut with, because it is in that, it's on the outer edge of the higher end of things, but it's also not something that the average user just can't maintain and sharpen. Does that make sense, Sean? Are there better steels out there? Absolutely. S125V, if you're just going straight with fucking edge retention, would have been the fucking choice. But problem is, you've done S125V, it's a fucking nightmare. So it's just kind of where I went. It's a really good all-around steel. But then again, so is 440C. Production knife and tear out? I don't know. I didn't see any. I've sharpened this a bunch of times, and I've sharpened it on the broad range of stones, just because I wanted to see. You know, I know what 20 CV in house when I fucking make a knife in house. I know how that 20 CV cuts and runs on stones and what I can and can't do with it. As far as production, first thing I did, the black one, because I knew it's going to be mine, I stripped the entire factory edge off. I spent a lot of time on a really coarse diamond, just bringing that back and making sure there was no fatigue metal at the edge. Did it all on diamond all the way up, cut with it. I put it on a microscope before I cut with it, checked for any inclusions, any areas that might be problems, and then used it until it was time to sharpen it. And then I did the same thing on natural Arkansas stones and checked to see what's it look like, you know, things like that. How's that edge look? How's it feel? How's it cut? How's it perform? Then went back and then did the same thing again on aluminum oxide up to, I think I did it on aluminum oxide up to 5,000 grit. And around 4,000 grit was where I was doing, you know, with Arkansas stones, natural stones, it's hard to get like an actual thing. And so then I did it that way and checked it, and I didn't see anything. I did notice, not gonna lie, I did notice that the edge on the diamond matrix stone at 4,000 grit it felt crisper. I didn't notice in actual use any difference, but the edge did definitely feel crisper at the apex with the diamond matrix stones on 20 CV with a factory heat treat. But the last time I sharpened it, and it's the way I'm going to continue to sharpen my own personal knives, and a lot of times if you send me a knife at 20 CV or M390, it's probably how I'm going to do it too. I finished everything up to 4,000 grit, and then I put it on an ultrafine Spyderco ceramic, and that gave me the overall crispest, most frightening, like scary to touch edge on 20 CV that I've had. And so I went back through and I sharpened all of my Ferrum Forges all the way up and finished them on that stone because they're all in 20 CV. And so, um, bang on his door and tell him, Mom, you're just... Okay, anyway, it's just, I tried a bunch of different stuff, um, just so you know, I've got the stuff here to do it. And I haven't noticed any issues. I really haven't noticed any issues. Now, I have the other two, the green one and the tan one, that still have the factory edges on them, and I'm gonna cut with them and see what I notice. But a lot of times I notice factory edges just don't last very well because, like I said, they're coarse, there's not that much material in there, it is fatigue, there's not a lot holding those points on that coarser factory edge. So it just all depends. And like I said, most people that are gonna own that knife are gonna sharpen it to like 500 grit. I mean, in all honesty, if you're gonna be having it, if I was going camping with that knife, that definitely would not have the edge it has now. It would not have that mere polish this, but the fact is, while I have a business card, these edges wind up being my business card. So my knives, with the exception of the ones that are like heavy use stuff, they all have a really mirror polished edge. And it's not because I think that that's what every knife needs. I just know that it's striking, it gets people's attention, and my polished edges are really crisp and still really, really, really toothy. Even, like, you know what I'm saying? It's a different thing. So I always ask the customer, what are you gonna use it for? You know, that determines how you're gonna cut that, what you're gonna cut with it is gonna determine what kind of edge you want. Is that edge still toothy? Yeah, but if I was having to cut a bunch of canvas or line or rope, I wouldn't want that edge on that. I'd want about a fucking 400 grit edge. That'd be it. So, and this is why it bothers me when people get all wound up about some of the stuff I say and take things I say out of context, because a lot of times I'm not arguing. I'm just saying this is my opinion on it. And if you have a different opinion, that's great. That's how, you know what? We used to say this in my partner and I, when we worked, did the physical security and counter surveillance piece, when we would come up with plans on how things should be executed. We didn't see eye to eye ever, but you know what we did? We would listen to each other's viewpoint, and a lot of times we would come to the best possible solution because we each had a different viewpoint. And so if you take those two together and you come up with something that's in the middle of that, that's usually going to be the best case scenario for two people to come to a decision. It's called compromise. This is how it works. So guys, it is Saturday. It's 1 o'clock. I haven't got to spend any time with my mother. She leaves on Tuesday. She's been on the phone and stuff, but I have got to finish this beer and then not drink anymore because I'm taking her to the base, Coronado, and we're gonna watch the sunset on the beach at the Navy Lodge area over there on Coronado Bay. So I've got to get done with that. I actually opened this and forgot that we were going. So, yeah, I mean, I'll hang out for a few more minutes if anybody's got any questions. Let me make sure I actually have live chat up instead of top. Nope, I have top chat. I'm sorry if I missed anybody's comments. Bang on his door until Mom says you're too loud. So, but Sean, if you're still here, does that explanation as to why I picked 20 CV make sense to you? But I mean, back to the basics of it, it's a steel that I've used before and I like. And not gonna lie, to be 100% honest, there's a lot of people that really like 20 CV. So, if you go with something that's popular, that you know is, like, if it had been something popular that I didn't like, or that I didn't trust to be, like, I like S35 VN in production knives. I like D2 in production knives. I like 20 CV, and there's a bunch, like S90V. So if it had been something outside of the norm of something that I know is reliable, I wouldn't have went with it. But part of it too is, from a marketing standpoint, if you want me to be 100% honest, people love 20 CV. People love 20 CV and Bowler M390. That's how you sell things. Is you pick things that if you're doing it in production. If you pick things that you're going to do into production and you take those things, you have to also keep in mind, I'm planning on making money on this. I don't want to put it in, I don't want to make it in something that no one's going to want to buy. You know what I mean? So was it a marketing ploy? As an afterthought, maybe. First of all, it was let's find a good, decent steel at a good, decent price. Actually, we were able to get 20 CV fairly cheap, because there was I forget what had happened, that they were able to get a bunch of it real cheap from Niagara, and so it wound up being a good deal. Would I make it out of 20 CV for the next run? I don't know. I don't know what steel is going to be available at that time. Would I like it to be in 20 CV? Yeah, but could we go with something like an S90V? Could we do a budget line of it with, it's already G10 handles, but we could do a budget line in S35VN. That's what the prototypes were in. They held up great. So, as a matter of fact, I still have 2 of the prototypes. I'm planning on selling one of them. If somebody would like to say that they just have a prototype stonefish. So, I don't know. I really don't know if it would. I really don't. Well, let's put it to you this way. I really don't care about rust on a blade. Unless it's going to be something that's like, just gets stained. This stains. It's D2. D2 stains. S35VN will stain if you do it right. VG10. Spyderco's VG10. That'll patina. That'll patina just like a bunch of other steels, and it's just something that's going to happen. As a matter of fact, where's that? My Crux has got a good, if you look at it, has got a good bit of patina that has formed on it and is orange in places. Is that rust? No, that's just it gets used. Especially if you're cutting meat and stuff. Yeah, S35VN will patina. If you want to take it off, I don't even have any because I don't really care about it that much. You can use a little bit of Brasso and I will take it right off. Just be careful not to cut yourself as you're wiping that blade down. So yeah, some steels will patina, and a lot of it depends on finish and what you're cutting and how you're using it and things like that. So let me see. I think that's all I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to talk about. We already did the premiere. I'm probably not going to shoot another video for a few days, guys. I want to not have to figure my time. Plus, I'm not going to get into details of it. I can't. I'm not legally allowed to. But I was served with a federal subpoena. And so that's something else that's going to take up a bunch of my time. I have to go in for depositions and stuff, and probably go to court as a witness. And I'm not in trouble. I'm not under investigation, but that's going to take up some of my time. So, yes, I will be at the California Custom Show. I will be at the Friday Night Blade Affair. I have to talk with Adam Jacobs. I have to talk with Bob Terzuola about a couple things. I'm going to see Jason McCoy, definitely have a drink with him. I do believe we are staying at Matt's parents' house. So that will definitely make for an interesting weekend. You guys will probably get some footage of that. But yes, I will be at the Cali Custom Show. So, well, guys, I'm gonna get off here. I've got other stuff I want to do. I like talking to y'all. I got other stuff I want to do. So I'll talk to you guys later. I will. What's very interesting? Oh yeah, it's gonna be me, Nico, and Matt at Matt's parents' house in Orange, just outside of Disneyland. It's gonna be interesting. I'm worried. I've got a really bad it's almost an ingrown toenail now. I dislocated one of my toes, but when I dislocated that toe, I also broke the fucking whole corner off of my big toe on my on my right foot, and it's tender. It's tender. It hurt by the time I got my boots off from being at Matt's house last night and fucking got home. It hurt real bad. So I'm hoping to get that healed up before I was coming in, and you guys know that the door stops, the kick down ones that sit down on a little rubber pad and then keep the door from sliding. I ran my foot right into that and dislocated the fucking toe next to the pinky toe on my right foot and broke the toenail just down, almost all the way down into like a whole big corner of it off, and it's fucking sore between the dislocated toe that I put back in place myself and busting the corner off that toe. It's pretty tender. So, but yeah. All right, Nico, I will tell my mom. You guys take it easy. Sean, if you're still here, I will definitely see you there. Come on, kid. Best budget steal, 100%. Let's see. Making sure I didn't miss anything. So I'd say it won't be made by we, especially because of the grind. You're talking about my sea snake? Artisan makes great knives, bro. I would not have went with them if I could not verify that they do good work. They're just not as well known. They're just starting to make a name for themselves. They do good work. All of their knives that I handled at the show were impeccably built, very well built. And I'm not just saying that because they're making my knife. I'm having them make my knife because I'm saying that. I would not have allowed them to have my design if I thought it was going to be substandard. So I have some standards. Problem is, when I can't find anything that meets my standards, I just lower them. That's how I used to date. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I love you all. I'll talk to you later. Sean, if you're here, I'll see you in Portland in about a week. Later.